Last topic. You know what I said about the multi-generational treatment? This one's just as important. So this is about investments. Okay, first thing I'm going to say about this. Don't be fooled by the numbers. What's he talking about? Don't be fooled by the numbers. Up until recently, we have still been seeing people that lost 40 and 45% in 2008, 2009 that haven't gotten back completely to where they were at that time. I know that sounds silly, but it really depends on what you were invested in and what you came back into the market with and when you did that, okay? So here's the deal. Again, I work with a lot of different people, but let's just assume an account with $100,000 and it's invested in the market, okay? And the market goes down 40%. Okay, so you lose $40,000. And you've got $60,000 left. By the way, in 2008, the advisors weren't calling us, were they? They didn't call and say, hey, you know, it's going down, but don't worry about it. Everything's cool. Okay? By the way, I lost 45% in my 401k plan. And I will tell you that I don't think it's funny when people say, hey, you had a 201k plan. I don't find that particularly funny. And you know what? It does come back. It does come back. The markets are cyclical. That's just the reality of the situation. However, I'm 66 now. 10 years ago, I was 56. I hated losing 45%. But I had enough of a time horizon, regardless of what I ultimately do retirement-wise, that I could weather that storm. If you're 66 or 70 or 75, how much of a time horizon do you have to recoup the losses that you give up? Now, the market came back, and let's say the market came back 40%. Whoop-de-doo, down 40, up 40. We back to 100,000? No. Okay, so it's based on where we're starting from. So now a 40% increase gives us 24,000, and now we have 84,000 in our account, even though the market was down and up the same percentage, because we started at 100, but when it started rebounding, okay, we got 40% of our reduced balance. So 84. So actually, what do we need return-wise to get back to 100,000? And the answer is it's got to go up 67%. That gets us to 100. Okay, because 67% of 60 grand is another 40,000. That gets us to 100. So take any percentage you want. Okay, if you do this at 50%, okay, you actually need 100% return to get back to where you started. So you can see if the market starts doing something nasty, and by the way, I would suggest it's doing that. I know we had a 10% correction. People want to argue about whether it was technically a correction, and it's up and down and up and down, and now it's, you know, it came back. Friday it was up, what, 400 points or something? Okay, looks wonderful. And I meet with people all the time. And we talk about different options, and they go, well, I think the market's still going to perform. That's okay. This is kind of interesting, though. Everyone's got this little acrylic thing on your table, and this is a magazine. Anybody see this? This is from last June. And this is actually a national publication put out by Cranes. It's called Investment News. And the article is, what goes up, ... By the way, it took me a month before somebody pointed out, this is a bear. See, most of you didn't see the bear either, did you? Okay, kind of funny, okay. The article that's in here is really, really interesting, because what it says is that this time the advisors are actually calling people and saying, be prepared for a 10% correction. This is last June. Well, I would suggest that a lot of what's going on has to do with the quantitative easing policies of the government. Anybody here ever hear of quantitative easing? Okay, it started in 2008. It's basically how the Fed controls the money supply, and part of why they're doing that is to make sure there aren't major shifts in the stock market. And there's been a lot of talk, and I don't care whether you love Trump or hate Trump, he's not the issue. The issue is what's going to happen. And the policies are changing. And if quantitative easing goes away, what impact might that have on the stock market?